In this video we're going to look at timeline reports. In the context of SVG family tree generator, a timeline report is a sorted list of vital events or life events. I'm going to start by loading one of our samples. Now this has actually got some marked up notes already prepared. We're going to the tree designer and we'll pick one of these people at random. In the Notes tab you can see a lot of HTML. If we switch to the toolbar, the last option there shows us how it will be rendered in the final output. And that makes a lot more sense. We can see that this person was born 1870 in Nottingham, so that first part is a birth event. And then there's a death and a burial, which we could probably group together as a death event. So there's really just two events in there. When we go back to the HTML, that span, that's from the span tag there to the end tag, that's the birth event, and this is a death event. This may sound complicated, but if I put my cursor in the first one, this option on the toolbar is specific to marking up those vital events. So that's actually highlighted for you the start and the end. And if you click it again, it will show you the details. So the event description is basically born at. And then the event type, this is a limited set, but you can add to it. So it starts off with birth, baptism, marriage, death, burial, and you can add your own ones if you want. So this is a user-defined description. And then you've got the actual text that's being marked up. So that's not too difficult, it just looks horrible in HTML format. Let's just look at the second one. Again, I'll just put my cursor somewhere halfway through. Hit the event button once, that will find the start and the end for me. Then hit it again and it will load all the details up. So now we've got a death event, and the death and burial details, and the date that the death occurred on. We'll talk more about the date format in the videos on notes. The format that it uses, including the types of keyword at the beginning, are based on GEDCOM dates, but that's not especially relevant at this point. To show you I'm not cheating, what I'm going to do is to go back to the rendered version, this is the final output, and select it. What this is doing is stripping out all of the HTML. Now I'm going to get rid of that so we can go back to the raw HTML, select it all and just paste that text in. So now we're back to the raw text and we can start again from scratch. So there's the birth event. And I'm going to hit this button and it's already spotted 1870 21st of April 1870. It's spotted that as a date, so it's already getting me off on the right track. That's my description, which could be anything. It's a birth event, and then that's it. That's generated my marked up text with that vital event in there. Now I'm going to select all the rest of it, which has got the death and the burial together. Hit the event button. Yes, it's spotted the date, that's great. A very simple bit of, which if I can't spell, a very simple bit of description. It's a death event. And that's it. That's back to where we were before. How do we include timeline reports? Well, it's an application as of version 6. It was there before, but it wasn't really a packaged application. And it's already ticked by default in this particular sample. It's interesting to note that if you're importing a GEDCOM family tree, then that really will be ticked by default because you will inherit a lot of the markup from the GEDCOM. That eases the burden quite a lot. So we'll keep timeline reports, and we've also got information panels ticked, and those two applications actually do collaborate, and I'll explain that in a moment. So let's process that and look at it in the browser. First, let me just demonstrate that the information panels work. So if I click on William Henry Proctor, which was the person we were looking at before, then we get that text rendered for the browser without any markup visible. That's great. Now we control click on that person to get rid of him. If I shift click on that person, that's highlighting it for the purposes of generating a timeline report. And we're only picking one person just to make this simple and easier to illustrate. Show will generate the timeline report, and there we've got the birth event, which I called born, and the death event, which I called died. Notice that these acquire an underscore when I hover over them. That's because they're a link back to the original notes. So we've got the date for the two events, and the relevant person, my description of the event, and then the event text. And if I select this link, it will actually take me back to the original notes if I want fuller details, basically. If I shift click on a family, let's just clear that highlight. If I shift click on a family, it automatically selects both the spouses and any direct children. So now if I show, we've got a lot more events now. We've got William Henry Proctor's birth, we've got his spouse's birth, we've got their marriage, we've got the death of both of them. If I click on the marriage one, then that will take me to the marriage notes for that family circle. And if I control click on it, that will clear the pop-up panel. Again, I can clear the highlights, and the button right at the bottom dismisses the timeline report. Just for the hell of it, we'll select all of them. That's all of the families and all of the people, and a show. So that's sorted all of the family events now in this small family tree. These lists can get quite large, but they do uncover some surprisingly, how can I put it, surprisingly interesting coincidences. What I want to do now is to switch to, there's a blog post that incorporates two family trees. In fact, this is a standalone example. There's the blog post. It talks about version 5, and it has those same two family trees embedded into the blog. We won't use the blog version, we'll use the standalone version, which anyone can load up from my SVG repository. It's got a little bit more on there. It's got that same family tree in the second box and a different sample in the upper box, but you'll see that it's got icons added. All they do is make the same functions available as an icon. So I could shift click on a person to select them, or I could hit this plus icon, and it's as simple as that. In the other one, I've got the application in there to expand an image, and also but there's also the eye icon on there that will do the same thing. So all that's done is put the same functions on icons. I could still achieve them by clicking on the image, or clicking on the box to select, or clicking on a family circle. And the main purpose of this standalone demonstration is that it incorporates two trees. If you were designing a family tree and you added the timeline reports application to each, then they would be loaded into independent tabs, and you would get the life events in each of those tabs. You wouldn't get a combined timeline report. What this illustrates is that the timeline reports application will actually look at all of the persons and all of the families in a particular web page. So it's not confined to one particular tree. And if you intend to go this route, then you'll have to make use of the instance identifier. What that does is, for example, prevent any clash of keys between the two trees. It doesn't matter if you've called them the same, or if you've got the same person independently in two trees, or if you've got different event handling on buttons or icons in the two trees. The timeline reports application will still apply to both. And I think we'll wind this video up there.